Next witness, gentlewoman for Virginia, Ms. Luria. 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairwoman Napolitano and Ranking Member Rouser and my colleagues on the subcommittee for this opportunity. I'd like to bring some attention to a few critical issues that impact water infrastructure in my district. Virginia's 2nd District is defined by its wetlands, Chesapeake Bay tributaries, and the Norfolk Harbor. My district and the surrounding region requires significant water infrastructure and resiliency investments. To understand my district, one must understand that the Port of Virginia is the gateway to transporting goods to so many communities. Federal facilities and installations make up a significant portion of my district, and the Eastern Shore is also facing severe resiliency threats, particularly from erosion. These 3 defining factors have impacted my request for the Water Resources Development Act of fiscal year 2022. My top request for WRDA 2022 is that the Congress include language to clarify that federal facilities are in fact included in the Coastal Resiliency Feasibility Study for coastal Virginia. Hampton Roads region is home to 18 military installations, including Naval Station Norfolk, the world's largest naval base, and Langley Air Force Base, the world's oldest and continuously operating Air Force base. Currently, there are limitations under existing authorities that restrict the ability to incorporate these installations and facilities into the civil works planning and construction process. Excluding a large portion of the region from these studies would result in an illogical data gap for the Army Corps. Reducing or removing those challenges and limitations potentially generates federal cost savings and increased regional climate resilience through military and civil works partnerships on coastal storm risk management. Lacking the ability to incorporate military installations and other federal facilities into the civil works project implementation process will force the Corps to perform work solely on a cost reimbursable basis in accordance with one of the several available reimbursement authorities. It requires each federal facility to individually carry out their own study, which is an enormous financial and logistical burden. For a coastal storm risk management study of significant size like coastal Virginia, the coordination process under these authorities would be logistically impractical. Secondly, I'd like to talk about Norfolk Harbor Anchorage Foxtrot. The Port of Virginia is one of the nation's and Commonwealth's most significant economic engines. On an annual basis, the port is responsible for more than 400,000 jobs and $92 billion in spending across the Commonwealth and generates more than 7.5% of Virginia's gross state product. I'm grateful that the Norfolk Harbor is receiving robust funding from the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act and from standard appropriations. However, further action is needed. Anchorage Foxtrot at the Norfolk Harbor is used primarily as an emergency swing anchorage to prepare for inclement weather conditions in the harbor or Chesapeake Bay. For vessels effectively use the anchorage, it's imperative that the anchorage approach the depths matched to the current federal channel. Norfolk Harbor's Anchorage Foxtrot is currently designed as a 3,000-foot diameter circle for free-swinging bow anchorage. The proposed modification includes the widening of Anchorage Foxtrot beyond its current authorized diameter of 3,620 feet to 3,840 feet and deepening the anchorage to 55 feet to be consistent with the 1986 authorization and the project depth of the federal channel. This modification will provide a deeper and wider anchorage and will permit use by larger vessels calling at the port. Lastly, I'd like to talk about the Eastern Shore of Virginia and the Cedar Island feasibility study. The Eastern Shore of Virginia has been fervently fighting erosion and sea level rise as well as land subsidence, specifically a barrier island called Cedar Island. Cedar Island is a major Virginia seaside barrier island, and barrier islands enhance back barrier marsh resilience to sea level rise. Both the barrier island and the marsh provide storm and flood protection of the mainland infrastructure from the Atlantic Ocean. Cedar Island has been undergoing significant coastal erosion for decades with substantial damage from Superstorm Sandy. The continuing erosion of Cedar Island will eventually open the seaside marsh and mainland to full ocean impact. We must take a closer look at Cedar Island and how to preserve the marsh. That is why I requested a specific Army Corps feasibility study for this area. Again, I would like to thank Chair Napolitano and Ranking Member Rouser and my colleagues on this committee for giving me the chance to speak today about these important priorities throughout coastal Virginia. By making much-needed investments in our water infrastructure, we can set coastal Virginia communities up for economic success and ensure their resiliency in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony, Ms. Luria. I'd like to tell its